This is a steady account of how battery sizes became what they are today, with a focus on AA, AAA, C, D, and 9-volt types. The subject touches on inventions, industrial use, consumer demand, and later formal standards. It may help to think of size standards as practical answers to repeated needs. Early inventors were solving stability and portability rather than naming conventions. As portable electrical devices spread, a need for predictable shapes and interchangeability arose. Manufacturers responded by offering common formats that customers could recognize. Over time, those formats received formal labels and international codes. The result is a surprisingly orderly system underneath everyday batteries. The following sections outline how chemistry, devices, and standards shaped these familiar sizes. The roots of battery technology go back to the earliest voltaic piles and wet cells of the 19th century. Early cells provided steady current, but were bulky and fragile for many uses. Chemists and inventors explored variations to make cells safer and easier to move. These efforts gradually led to the dry cell concept, which confined reagents and reduced leakage. Portable illumination and signaling needs pushed makers to think about casing size and terminal placement. Early portable cells were often bespoke for a device or a maker, with no standard sizing to rely on. That situation set the stage for gradual rationalization of shapes and capacities as devices multiplied. The advent of practical dry cells in the late 19th century made portable electric devices feasible for ordinary households. Dry cell designs consolidated electrodes and electrolyte into a compact cylinder or can. Cylindrical forms proved convenient for flashlights, portable radios, and toys because they packed multiple cells in a simple holder. Early companies experimented with different diameters and lengths to balance capacity, current, and cost. Those experiments gradually produced a family of repeatable cylinders that customers could swap between products. With repeated production, certain cylinder sizes gained wider acceptance. That informal acceptance was an important precursor to formal naming and later standards. Before modern lettered names, batteries were often identified by maker numbers or descriptive terms. Some catalogs used numeric labels that made sense within a company but not across the market. As national markets matured, common sizes began to be referred to by simple labels for retail convenience. Retailers and device makers found that consistent size names reduced returns and confusion. Consumers appreciated being able to purchase replacements without technical consultation. The move from company codes to simple public names was gradual and pragmatic. This practical shift prepared the marketplace for a later wave of formal standards. Two cylindrical sizes became especially widespread in the mid-20th century and acquired familiar short names. One was the larger cylinder commonly used in many portable appliances and often referred to by a single letter. The other was a mid-sized cylinder that fit smaller devices and became a common household spare. Manufacturers adopted these sizes because they balanced capacity, cost, and form factor. Retailers displayed them as standard options, and users grew accustomed to choosing them for specific needs. When radio and portable equipment makers standardized holders, the letter name stuck. Over time, those letters became the everyday shorthand for size and fit. A smaller cylindrical size evolved for compact flashlights and slim devices, often marketed under a casual name that reflected its portability. Its narrower diameter allowed designers to create slender housings and lightweight devices. The smaller size carried less capacity, but matched the needs of many handheld items. As compact electronics proliferated, that size found steady demand and a clear place on store shelves. Electronic designers exploited its compactness while accepting more frequent replacements. Over time, it became a standard option in multi-pack retail packages, reinforcing consumer recognition. For higher capacity needs, larger cylindrical cells were common in lanterns and heavy-duty flashlights. These cells sacrificed compactness for longer runtime and higher stored energy. They were often used singly or in small groups to power larger bulbs and motors. Manufacturers standardized lengths and diameters to ensure interchangeability across devices from different makers. The heavier forms were simple to handle and maintain in industrial and outdoor settings. Over decades, the larger cylinders became familiar workhorse sizes for applications that valued endurance over compactness. That practical role helped fix their place among common battery types. A distinct rectangular, multi-cell format emerged to meet a different set of device requirements. The 9-volt style combined several internal cells within a compact rectangular package and offered a convenient high-voltage source without large diameter cells. It often appeared in small electronic instruments, early transistor radios, and smoke detectors. The shape made quick connections and placement straightforward for designers and users. Its compact form factor suited circuit assemblies that required a stable nominal voltage without bulky diameter cells. Because it served specific niche needs, the rectangular type earned a steady foothold in consumer electronics. As international trade increased, organizations stepped in to formalize names and measurements so components and replacements could cross borders easily. Standards bodies developed systematic codes that corresponded to familiar consumer names. Those codes provided technical specifications for dimensions, terminal styles, and nominal voltages, so manufacturers could certify compatibility. The codes also linked size designations to acceptable tolerances and test methods. Industrial adoption of these codes reduced ambiguity in procurement and design. With those agreements in place, a battery labeled by a particular code would reliably fit devices made elsewhere. Chemical developments influenced how those sizes performed and how they were marketed. Improvements in alkaline chemistry increased capacity and shelf life relative to older carbon-zinc types. That shift meant the same physical size could deliver longer run times, and consumers came to expect more from familiar sizes. Rechargeable chemistries added another layer because cells with nominally similar external dimensions could have quite different electrical characteristics. Standards addressed physical dimensions more tightly than chemistry, so the same size might accommodate several chemistries with different internal designs. Manufacturers often labeled chemistry and intended use to help consumers choose appropriately. Devices drove demand as much as standards did. Flashlight makers, toy companies, and radio designers each favored particular formats that matched their performance and packaging needs. Consumer habits reinforced those choices when replacement batteries were stocked in stores by the hundreds. Retailers and designers found mutual benefit in steady formats that reduced confusion and simplified inventory. Over time, marketing names and technical codes coexisted, with shoppers using common letters and technicians using standard codes. That practical dual naming system has continued into the present, balancing convenience and technical precision. Today, the familiar sizes remain largely unchanged in form, although materials, internal construction, and labeling have continued to evolve. Rechargeable variants, low self-discharge chemistries, and environmental regulations have altered how batteries are produced and sold. Recycling and disposal concerns have encouraged clearer labeling and take-back programs in several regions. While device design occasionally experiments with custom battery packs, the standard cylindrical and rectangular sizes persist because of their proven practicality. Their continued presence reflects a long, incremental process of invention, commercial adoption, and formal standardization. This account has traced a path from early electrochemical cells to the standards that underpin AA, AAA, C, D, and 9-volt types in common use. The story is one of steady practical choices by makers, users, and standards organizations rather than dramatic leaps. Familiar names and codes emerge where convenience, device requirements, and manufacturing practices intersected. Those intersections produced a family of sizes that most people recognize and most devices can accept. If one pays attention to the labels, the codes reveal a quiet history of industrial coordination and consumer habit. Thanks for joining us for the history of battery size standards, including AA, AAA, C, D, and 9-volt. If you are still awake, please stand by for our next program.